Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabados of Delmar, and we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Sandor Schuman. Sandor, welcome to the Jewish View.
Nice to be here in sunny Delmar.
Yeah, I don't know, not Miami Beach, but all right. As you can see on your screen, he wrote a book, Adirondacks Mendel's Ufruf, which everybody knows the Adirondacks, that's upstate New York. Mendel is a Jewish name, and Ufruf is he has to tell the story, but it's a very it's the idea before the Sabbath or Shabbos, before a Jewish groom, a chatan, gets married. That's when they will get called to the Torah. So in any case, it's humorous. Really, it's from Europe, the Helm stories, humorous Jewish stories, and he modernized it, obviously, in the Adirondacks. They didn't have Adirondacks in Europe. And tell us a little bit about more of your stories in the book.
Okay. The people of Helm from Poland moved to the Adirondacks. Why? They had a real estate broker who made them an offer they couldn't refuse. He sold them a land where every acre was 2 acres, where you could till the soil with a teaspoon. And there were not only 4 seasons, there are 5. Now, of course, the Helmites were skeptical, so they sent 12 spies to check out this new land. And they reported back that, yes, indeed, every acre was 2 acres, because the land was so steep. If you flattened it out, for every acre you'd get 2. And yes, you could till the soil with a teaspoon, because that's as far as you could dig before you hit bedrock. And yes, there were not only 4 seasons, there were 5: summer, fall, winter, spring, black fly season. When the Helmites in Poland heard this, they said, everything the real estate broker said was true. Let's go. And so they moved to the Adirondacks, to an area that they called Helms Pond, named after the pond that actually exists there. It's Helm with an anglicized spelling, H-E-L-M-S. It's just north of Blue Mountain Lake, between Castle Rock and Little Blue Mountain. The steep valley where every acre is 2 acres. You can till the soil with a teaspoon, and there's not only 4 seasons, there are 5. So that's Helms Pond.
Yeah, modernized to upstate New York.
Right, and so long as we're in the Adirondacks, I've had a lifelong affection not just for Helm stories, but also for tall tales. Pecos Bill, Johnny Appleseed. Help me out here. Paul Bunyan, and locally in New York State, Bill Greenfield, who's from the Sacandaga Lake region. Real people who told these incredible, preposterous, fabulous, fantastic stories. And so long as the Helmites have moved to the Adirondacks, we might as well bring some Adirondack tall tales into it. So now I'm thinking I should tell you an Adirondack tall tale from this book.
Everybody loves the story.
Okay, well, I'll give you the short version. Adirondack Mendel is not of Helms Pond. He's invited in. And the people of Helms Pond are so desperate for some kind of outside, contact, because they live in this isolated village. And so he comes, and he's full of stories, and they're delighted. They all pile into the Bbroiled Beef, which is the local cafe, and he tells them stories. So they ask him, did you ever enter one of these Adirondack woodsman kind of contests where you have to, have some feat of wood chopping or log rolling? Oh, yeah. He says, I've been in lots of those contests. Well, tell us about one of those. Okay, he says, I'll tell you about the fly fishing contest. It seems that there was a guy from New York City who wanted to learn fly fishing. And he had a very peculiar idea, apparently, about what fly fishing meant. So he set up this contest with a very lucrative prize of $1,000, plus you would have a contract to take him fly fishing for a whole year, so he could learn fly fishing. And the way, and so all of the Adirondack guides, all of the local people in the Adirondacks wanted to enter this contest, and this swarms of people come together. And the first contestant is Giant Jim, and he gets up on the platform, and from his pocket he takes out a little cardboard matchbox and opens it up and releases a stonefly. Now a stonefly is about an inch, maybe inch and a quarter. It's a fat, juicy insect. The trout love to eat this insect. And it flies off in the calm summer air, and he reaches down, gets his fly fishing rod, puts a little number 12 hook on, a tiny little hook, and he casts about, and you can see the line is this big flowing stream of fishing line as he's casting around with his rod, and he snaps it back and hooks the stonefly. And he reels it in and shows it, and everybody's cheering. They think this is great, fabulous, and right away, half of the contestants just walk away. You know, how could they possibly top this? The next guy comes up and he says, "My name is Mountain Manny, and I'm here to enter the fly fishing contest." And he takes out this little matchbox and releases a mayfly, probably the favorite food of brook trout in the Adirondacks. And as the wind is picking up, this mayfly is dancing all around in the wind. He gets out his fly rod and lets out all of this lead line. It's flying around, same fishing line you used to build the Erev. And he flicks his wrist and he catches this mayfly. People are watching this all with their binoculars. And he reels it in and holds up this mayfly on the hook. And the crowd is just wild. This is fabulous, fabulous. And he's about to sign the contract when this other guy comes up and he says, "My name is Adirondack Mendel, and I am here to enter the fly fishing contest." And everybody, you know, what? How can you outdo this guy? He takes out his matchbox and releases a no-see-um. Now, the no-see-um is a gnat, a fly, so called because it is so tiny you can't see it. You need a magnifying glass. This tiny insect he releases into the air, and by now the wind has picked up. It's a storm, it's turbulent, and people have their binoculars out there trying to watch this no-see-um as it flits around in the wind. And Adirondack Mendel gets his fly rod out, and he lets out this long length of line, and he's casting about, and he flicks the rod and reels it in, and he stands there very proudly. The judge says, "But Adirondack Mendel, you didn't hook the fly. It's still flying around there." And Adirondack Mendel says, "My dear judge, circumcision is not meant to kill." So that's, you know, I adapted that from the Jewish samurai joke, which is essentially the same joke, but it's a contest between samurai swordsmen. Yeah. And the Jewish samurai doesn't kill the insect, he, you know, just circumcises it. So you import that old Jewish joke into the Adirondacks, you make it fly fishing, you put it in Helm, the Helmites are amazed.
So you got a Jewish joke on it, make everything Judaized. Oh, okay. Excellent. So just, you know, I have read the book, and it's an excellent book, and it's in modern eyes. You don't have to read the originals, which I did many of them, the Helm stories, but they're cute, they're interesting, and they're like have always a Jewish theme to them, just some Jewish take like you're making on there. That's interesting. What about this picture behind?
Well, the illustrations in the book were done by Kevin Kuhn, and I get a lot of feedback. Yeah, people like the book, but I get even more feedback that they like the pictures. This is Bloomy inside the restaurant. This is when she's a youngster before she's taken over. And actually, I mean, Kevin really did an authentic job. So here's the windows of the Broiled Beef, and here's Little Blue Mountain. on the other side of Helms
This is
Pond.
an original picture from your person?
Yes, yes.
I really never thought that. I thought it was just picked it up from, incorporated, like.
I'm not that clever. No, Kevin made this, he read the book and he did the illustrations. And so you see Helms Pond there, and he doesn't show up real well, but here's Rabbi Chaim Shmayim. And so the story is, when Bloomy was a young girl, she's growing up in Helms Pond, this isolated community. She worked in the cafe which her parents own, Razel and Shlomo, named after my grandparents. And she likes working there. As a youngster, she sweeps the floors, then she graduates to cleaning the tables, and then she becomes the waitress. And she wants desperately to see what real restaurants are like. She wants to see other eateries. And so she begs her parents to take her to a restaurant, which of course the restaurants aren't kosher. What are they going to do? Finally, they give in, and they go to a diner, and what are they going to order? So the father looks at the menu. He says to the waitress, "Can I have the bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich without the bacon?" "You just want lettuce and tomato?" "Yeah." "Okay." The waitress writes it down on her pad and calls into the kitchen, "LT down, heavy on the mayo." Bloomy is confused. What's that? Why did you do that? "Oh, honey, that's just LT, that's lettuce and tomato. Down, that means put it in the toaster, push down on the handle. Heavy on the mayo, your father said he liked mayonnaise. I put a lot of mayonnaise on it. That should be pretty obvious." Okay, so her mother's looking at the menu. What's she going to have? She says, "I see you serve breakfast all day." "Oh yeah, any time of day you can order breakfast." "Now tell me, do you fry the eggs in a separate pan or on the griddle?" "No, all the eggs are cooked in a separate pan." "Do you put bacon in the pan when you?" No, it's just the eggs that get cooked in the egg pan. That's the way we do it in the diner." "Good, okay, so can I have 2 fried eggs, and I like them cooked, not real hard, brown, but if you would, you cook the egg and then take a spatula, flip it over, cook it a little bit so the yolks aren't runny, the whites aren't runny. That's how I would like them cooked." The waitress says, "You want anything else with that?" "Yeah, I would like an English muffin on the side, and not just warmed up or lightly toasted. I like it nice and brown." And the waitress calls into the kitchen, "2 broke over easy, British burnt in the alley." And Bloomy is, "What? What was that?" "Oh, honey," says the waitress, 2 broke over easy, that's 2 eggs, break the yolks, turn them over, easy, not hard, just like your mother said. And 2 British, that's an English muffin. Burnt, that means, not really burnt, but, well toasted. And in the alley, that just means on the side." Bloomy is ecstatic. This is just wonderful. And then she orders her sandwich. She wants, "Can I have a grilled American cheese?" And the waitress, and maybe with tomato in it. The waitress calls in, "1 Jack and Tom." What's Jack and Tom? Jack, well, that's grilled American cheese, GAC, but you don't say gack in a diner. You say Jack. And Tom, that's tomato. Simple. Jack and Tom. Oh, and Bloomy says, "I see that the sandwich comes with a side order of potato salad, but could I have just lettuce, plain lettuce for a side order?" The waitress says, "Sure, hon." And the waitress calls into the kitchen, "Honeymoon in the alley." Honeymoon, what's that mean? Let us alone. Okay. Now Shlomo catches on. He's going to get potato salad side order with his sandwich too. He says, instead of the potato salad, could I have coleslaw instead? She calls into the diner, into the kitchen, "Hold that tater and make it slaw." When they get back to the diner in Helms Pond, Bloomy wants to put all this diner talk to work. And so she's using this diner talk at every opportunity. And at one time, the rabbi comes in, and he's in a hurry. He sits down. He says, "Bloomy, I'll just have the chicken soup." And she calls into the kitchen, "1 chicken soup." And she goes about her business, filling coffee, taking orders. As she sees the rabbi waving from the other side of the cafe, she goes over, "Rabbi, what can I do for you?" He says, "Look, I've taken a look at the menu. I see today you have split pea on the menu. I'd like to have that instead." And so Bloomy calls into the kitchen, "Hold that chicken and make it pea." Okay, you can see how that would affect the young girl's reputation. Yeah, so that's what this picture is about. This is Bloomy calling in the order into the kitchen at the soon to become the Bbroiled Beef, the cafe in Helms Pond.
Just there's a lot of Jewish insinuation to broiled beef. I mean, beet is always a borscht. I don't think it's Jewish, but that's why I always say that the Jewish people have picked up so much of the cultures from other countries. And I mean, you're making it, it's interesting. There's not so much in America, really, to tell you the truth. But you're doing that. You're probably on the leading edge
the
over
cutting
here.
edge. Well, the reason I chose the broiled beef, though I should say, the reason Bloomy chose the name the broiled beef, when she took over the cafe, she wanted, to upgrade the menu and, make it this gourmet vegetarian restaurant with Adirondack Ashkenazic fusion cuisine, and she needs a name for the restaurant. And in the Adirondacks there really is an ice cream stand called Custard's Last Stand in Long Lake, and in Indian Lake there's a restaurant called Marty's Chili Nights. It gets cold up there, but it's a Mexican restaurant, chili, Marty's Chili Nights. So there's some clever names, and so she sees these names, she wants to have a clever name too. And so she, somebody suggested I could have called it Helm's Kitchen. But so she wants something that's unique, that's specific to Helms Pond, and they're all vegetarians. What do you do if you're a vegetarian? You can't afford to import kosher food. What do you do on Pesach? You need a shank bone.
Right.
Has to be kosher shank bone.
Okay.
You're a vegetarian. What do you do? Well, so, an interpretation that can be made of a passage in the Talmud is that it's acceptable to use a beet. And so you broil the beet. So among Jewish vegetarians, of which I would confess I am one, that's a practice that many have adopted. So on that basis, she calls this Jewish kosher vegetarian restaurant the Bbroiled Beef.
All right. That's an interesting name.
You have to read the footnotes in the book to get the Talmudic references.
So we're talking about Jewish things. We're dealing with art, and we're talking with literature. Next thing is, of course, in the humanities, music. So you can tell us something about your other hobby.
Okay.
Harp.
Well, here's a bit of my Jews harp collection. I'll play you a little Jews harp on this version, which is a more modern. And
this is all there are for. I mean, there's 4 different keys, or is it different sizes? That's what I'm saying.
Well, I'll play those so you get a sense of how they sound differently. But trust me, these days you can buy a chromatically tuned set of Jews harps. For a few $100s, mind you. The modern ones, I bought these for maybe 25 cents a piece back when 25 cents was still worth a dime. But this one, which is made in Russia, I think I paid $35 or $40 for. But enough talk, right? Okay, now I goofed up. You got the idea.
Yeah. Jewish harp, the Jews harp.
A Jews harp
with a Jewish tune.
Right. there's a number of different names for this. Just about every country, every nationality has a traditional instrument of this sort. It's essentially a tongue, a reed, a springy thing. I'm going to play it near my microphone. It's just a drone sound, but when you put it in your mouth and hold the two arms up against your teeth, and you close off the back of your mouth with the back of your tongue, your mouth becomes a resonator, and you can create overtones. So although the instrument just has one note, I can just about play Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So you can get different tones to it. It goes by many different names, none of which is Jew's harp in their traditional forms. The best explanation that I've heard for why they're called Jew's harps is that it's been really just, it's speculation, that during the Middle Ages and later in Europe, these are small, inexpensive, easy to carry around instruments, and the Jewish peddlers of the time might well have carried these around and sold them along with the rest of their wares, and so they became known as Jews' harps. Other than that, someone else has suggested that this shape, this is a little bigger, you can see it better. Does this look like David's harp to you? It takes a little imagination. I do tell the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
All right, so let's hear it.
This is I'll give you the introduction anyway. This is the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. There were three bears who lived in a cabin in the woods. There was the Papa Bear. There was the Mama Bear. And there was the Baby Bear. And what can we say? They were busy preparing for Pesach, and they had boiled all the glassware in stainless steel pots, and they were letting the water cool. I'm making this up. So they went out for a walk, and while they're gone, a little girl comes into the woods by herself, knocks on the door, nobody's home, she goes right in. That's the basic idea. You have a Goldilocks and the Three Bears with their own theme songs.
That was original, your tunes over here?
Well, they're not always recognizable. The Papa Bear was supposed to be Darth Vader from Star Wars.
I got that.
And so on. You know, the mother's, the Jew's harp is not a great melody instrument. The mother is supposed to be, what's his name? He wrote Peer Gynt. It's not coming to me.
Right.
The morning song. Edvard Grieg. And Goldilocks is supposed to be a tisket, a tasket, a green and yellow basket. And the little bear is Baa Black Sheep, you know. What can you do?
Yeah, a bear to a sheep, all right.
Yeah.
Do you like playing this? Is your hobby? You sit there playing this?
Well, it's the interesting part for me is, yeah, I like to just sit around and play it, but you know, it only goes so far. It's like, what's a good Jew's harp tune? Because not every.
There are people who play it, like you say. So do they have bands or something? The duets?
Oddly, yes. I think this is really remarkable, and I think it's the internet that has gotten all 12 people in the world who care about Jew's harps can now talk to each other. But there is now an international Jew's harp festival.
All right, so there's more than 12 people today.
Right, there is. I mean, they get a good crowd. And there's a North American Jew's Harp Festival, which ironically this year is meeting during Yom Kippur. So there's really no Jewish connection here. Yeah. I don't know if you'd recognize this one. I won't bore you with more Jew's harp after this. Well, that was yes, the Lone Ranger, the William Tell Overture, which is a little bit weird coming out of a Jew's harp, but if you can play it on a harmonica, why not on the Jew's harp, right?
All right, so you're very talented. You have literature, and you have anything for the future? I mean, a lot of times there's always, when somebody is successful, they like writing sequels.
Well,
that's how it usually goes.
Funny you should ask. This book ends with Adirondack Mendel's Ufruf, right. And the next thing after an Ufruf is the wedding. So I'm gonna throw out some things that I'm thinking about, not very well developed, but they're going to get married just before Hanukkah, and they're going to have to take only one day for a honeymoon, because they've got to get back to the Bbroiled Beef because they make the most fabulous latkes, and they can't just leave Bloomy's parents there to deal with the huge crowds by themselves. So they only get one day for their honeymoon, but they go to Adirondack Mendel's cabin that he's built on the top of Little Blue Mountain, and terrible snowstorm happens, and they get stuck there. And the honeymoon that was supposed to last for only one day miraculously lasts for 8.
Yeah, that's the Hanukkah story.
Right, and then, comes Pesach. You mentioned Adirondack Mendel. It's a Jewish name, but it's not a Sephardic name. How is it? And he's Sephardic, it turns out. That's another story. Comes Pesach, what are they going to do? Adirondack Mendel, now he's a vegetarian. If he doesn't have kitniot, he's going to die. He just can't imagine being a vegetarian without eating legumes and rice. And Bloomy is Ashkenaz. She can't eat kitniot. So we're going to have a big controversy come Pesach.
So you're going to leave us in suspense.
Oh, yes, of course.
We're going to have to see a sequel. All right. All right, so very good. So good luck on
hopefully people will read this one first.
Yeah, no, that's it. First, you got to get the first one. So hopefully we give you a success, blessing for success, and it should spread out. And again, Jewish culture is important. That gets people Jewish-minded and different ideas. I think that a lot of people in youth today do need they're reading so much other literature, different movies. They just don't even feel even the basic Jewish culture, what's happening. So maybe they'll see something here Jewish.
I hope so. I mean, this is fundamentally Helm fool stories and Adirondack tall tales mixed together, and like I said, with footnotes and a glossary.
Well, thank you very much. Over here at the Adirondack Mendel's Ufruf, if someone wants to look it up, they have your website. And Sandor Schuman, then thank you very much, and we look forward to reviewing your second book with you also.
From your mouth to God's ears.